Hello, hello. Usually one of two things happens right after a weekend of indulgence. Number one, you feel a bunch of shame, so you decide to commit to some like really restrictive diet or fast for 72 hours. Number two, the shame makes you overeat because what do we do when we feel shame? We feel awful. And what do we reach for? The thing that makes us feel better. And so oftentimes a small period of overindulgence can lead into a week or a month before you're able to get yourself back towards yourself again. So today I want to rescue you from that revenge diet. I want to make sure you don't make the mistake that I've made a million times of getting hyper restrictive after a period of overindulgence. And I want to help you get back on track. Like literally, I want you to be resetting within the next 24 to 48 hours. I think it's going to surprise you, the kind of what I'm going to share today, as it has surprised me and surprises and delights the many wonderful creatures and clients that I work with. If you are new to the channel, my name's Helen. I'm a coach who specializes in helping people identify what's causing the overeating. And then we do the work to heal the root cause. And in the case of today, what often causes people to continue overeating is the thoughts they have about the overeating itself. Now, it's Easter Monday as I go live, and maybe you're watching the replay, but save this video because there will come a time in the next few weeks or months where you've overindulged again and you've forgotten what I'm saying today. But it is so important because if you reach out for a diet, let's say you decide to go on a crash diet to try and undo the damage that you've done. Oh my God, I've been there so many times. And it never works out well because what happens if you've been dieting for years, if not decades before, and you're finding that it's impossible to stick to anymore? There's good reason for that. I won't go into it today. But for every diet, there is an equal and opposite binge. Those are the incredible words of a wonderful author, Janine Roth. And she couldn't be more true. When we've been hyper restrictive in the past, our body creates a kind of trauma response and doubles down on getting the food back into us the minute we go offline. So going on another diet will probably lead to failure, which will make you feel even worse, lovely one. Or if it doesn't, you might be able to diet for a while, but ultimately the weight comes back on over time. We know the drill. It's called yo-yo dieting for a reason. So don't make the mistake of going on another hyper restrictive diet to try and undo all the damage. You'll probably end up just making things worse and continuing the spiral of overeating. So where was I? Yes, so identifying the root cause, shame, guilt and shame. Man, it can drive us into some terrible, terrible places. Either we're going to start dieting, which never ends well, or we end up feeling so crummy because of the thoughts we're thinking that we end up eating to soothe ourselves from our own thoughts. Now, here's the thing to remember. We are human beings and we are going to have periods of indulgence. And I actually think that's divine. So I'm using that word very specifically, as in my journey and when I work with clients, what we want to do is separate out, just a little bit of eating beyond fullness and indulgence into overindulgence versus compulsive, impulsive, chaotic overeating, emotional eating, all of that kind of stuff. Let's sort of put that in the bingey camp. Maybe it's not always a binge, but it's got binge energy. An indulgent weekend is one where we have savored and enjoyed the experience of going beyond hunger purely for pleasure. So from now onwards, if you choose to eat beyond hunger, remember to call it an indulgence because that's all it ever needs to be. And if we're going to indulge, let's be present, let's savor it, and let's do it without all the guilt and the shame because that never leads us in good places. And why have guilt while you're eating the food? Because otherwise you may as well just not do it. I had a client the other day who said to me that he feels shame the minute he puts sugar in his mouth. Now, where does that come from? It comes from a story that we're telling ourselves that we have got from our loved ones, from our environment, and from the endless nutri-gurus out there, all the gurus who are trying to tell you what to eat and how to eat. And sugar currently is the big demon. Now, I'm not saying that they're not necessarily right. Maybe some people, of course, no, let me back up. I'm not saying that we think that refined sugar, in the highly processed food form is exceptionally good for the human body. I think we can all safely agree that it isn't. But when we indulge, if it's with sugar as an example, we don't need to carry a story about how awful we are on top of just the general impacts. Because here's the thing, lovely ones, and this is the point I'm going to be getting to. When you have indulged in something, so you've gone beyond fullness, you're not carrying guilt or shame about it, And maybe you've overindulged. You've got to the point where you're really starting to feel, and this is so important, you're starting to feel pretty crappy without a shame story. Your body, if we indulge in too much of anything, too much of a good thing too, we start to feel yuck. And the work of food freedom is about connecting back with what's going on inside our bodies. Let's remove the story. The story is only going to make us feel worse. Let's be present and notice what we're experiencing. So, if you have had a couple of days or maybe a week of indulging, maybe not just on food, maybe you've on alcohol, maybe you've been indulging in sleep, which I think is glorious, but you've had enough of it now. You don't name it. Anything that you do in moderation normally, and now you've gone beyond that. What are you feeling physically in your body at this point? It's probably starting to struggle in some way. So let's just tune into that. Now, your body's not trying to hate you. It's not trying to be mean. It's just trying to give you some signals that it's time to course correct. And here's the thing we always see when we indulge or overindulge with food, a few days of eating quite a bit more than we need, what we notice is we start to feel pretty yuck. And we naturally want to do things differently. Now, what are you likely to want to do? Well, tune into your body. Maybe today it's begging for sleep. Maybe it just wants you to go lie down. And maybe you aren't able to do that, but let's just tune in anyway. The other thing that you've got to notice for sure is in the next couple of days, and this will amaze you and delight you. I want you to notice it if you're doing this for the first time. Notice what happens to your hunger, what kind of food you start to crave, and what your energy levels are doing. Even if today feels a bit lethargic, if today feels a bit heavy, you're wanting to shame yourself, but you just strip away the story and you're like, no, well, let's just go with it. My body's feeling a bit heavy today. Just be with it. Okay, maybe tomorrow morning you wake up and the whole day tomorrow you're barely hungry at all. Maybe for 2 or 3 days you notice that you're just hardly hungry. You're not really thinking about food until 6, 7 in the evening. And when you do, maybe what you're naturally craving are things that are light, things that are nutrient dense. Just notice. It's interesting, isn't it, that we start to naturally think, oh God, I'm just desperate for some vegetables. Have you noticed that? Or oftentimes you'll hear people say, oh man, I need something with tomato in it. Like, it's interesting, depends on what they've been eating. Or something salty or protein, man, just desperate for some meat, something red. Just listen. If we've eaten too much sweets, for example, you will naturally start to crave something very different. And you'll probably notice a period of increased energy. Now, that may not be just physical. It may be physical only, or it might be mental. You might find for the next few days, you have got so much mental acuity, it like makes your head spin. So a little bit of a sugar hangover at first, followed by days of just cracking on with stuff. It's just incredible how our body figures out what to do when we've gone too far. It's trying to do its repairs and maintenance. It's trying to bring us back to neutral. And you will be so delighted that you never have to shame yourself into a course correction again. Your body is trying to tell you what to do. And if you can listen, you're way more likely to get there quickly, and you're way less likely to trip up into a diet or something restrictive that could actually make the problem worse. And you're certainly less likely to feel the story of how bad you've been, and instead rather just go, well, that was indulgent. I enjoyed it. Well, hopefully in the future, you'll really begin to enjoy this, because you'll know that if you indulge, you will naturally get to that point where your body's asking for something completely the opposite. Now, the best example I have for this is if you've ever been on the kind of holiday where there's not much to do. At first, you're absolutely shattered and you just, oh man, those long days without too much obligation. Maybe it's like an all-inclusive or whatever, but you literally just get to sleep and rest and sleep and rest, and it's glorious. And if you're there long enough, what inevitably happens, and for some people it might take quite a long time because you're so exhausted, but if you're there long enough, maybe day 10, day 11, day 12, you start getting bored. And what happens? You suddenly want to do more or be more mentally active. Our bodies, with too much of anything, start to course correct in the other direction. And it's so lovely to know that about yourself, that when Christmas comes, okay, let's embrace indulgence. Let's be mindful. Let's savor it. You'll probably stop a lot sooner as well when you're mindful and present with your indulgence too. That's the other great thing. You drop the story of guilt and bad, And you just be with it, flavor, taste it, notice it. And when you stop enjoying it, stop. Not so easy sometimes, I understand. That takes some practice. But you're way more likely to stop when you're present and you're letting that story go. Because oftentimes we just mow through the fullness point purely because of a story we're telling ourselves. And then we go offline, we're not even tasting the food anymore. So the best thing is start defining any overeating when you're eating beyond hunger as indulgence. It's purely for pleasure. And if it's going to be for pleasure, be with it, experience it. Otherwise, why do it? And you'll likely stop sooner. But also, even if you don't, even if you end the day like what they call hyena belly, you're so full that you're sort of having to digest, then it's okay. It's uncomfortable. Great. That's your body's signal, right? That's your body saying, whoa, girl, whoa. And you just start tuning in and listening and just watch as your body tries to guide you back. Maybe you're more thirsty. You need water. You need salts. Maybe you're desperate to go for a run and have a good sweat. Listen, your body's guiding. It's trying to tell you. And it's so cool when you do this because you start to trust that you can overindulge and you will be okay. You don't have to diet to get back on the horse. This is the fastest way to feel better. Mentally, you're feeling better because you're not carrying the story of guilt. But actually, physically, just keep listening and listen to your body signals and just try and follow them. And be excited when you notice that energy rush that comes in the next few days and probably a lack of hunger. Lastly, this is the time, if you're doing this work with me or you're on your own journey, really to try and be present. You might want to be doing some journaling, noticing all that negative thinking. Try and turn it around. Using this video, you can tell yourself a new story, yeah? So just noticing, what am I thinking? What's bringing me down? Can I find new thoughts that feel a little bit more empowering? Maybe the thought is as simple as, you know what Helen said, in 24 hours, I'll be feeling better if I just listen. 72 hours max, I'm going to be feeling right as rain again. Just have a little listen and turn those thoughts around. And then I would say really double down on your super 7. If you don't know what those are, it's the simple things: sunlight, fresh air, social connection, drink some good water, and then mindfully listen to your tummy when it's time for food. We don't want to have any runaway stories that trip us up. So this is the time to slow everything down, back to basics, go for that walk if your body's asking for, get outside, connect with people. Oh, and it'll reset you before you can possibly imagine. So save this video if you enjoyed it. If you're joining me live, you can always send me, some of your questions in the chats. Happy to answer them. But for today, I'm going to wrap this one up. If you got some value out of this video, then please smash the like button so it can go out to people who need to hear it. And I think there's a lot of them out there today on Easter Monday. And of course, if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel so we can make sure that we can deliver a bit more food freedom into your YouTube stream every weekday. Speaking of which, I'll be back next Monday. I'm here every Monday, live at lunch, 1 p.m. in the UK. And you're welcome to join me, shoot your questions in the chats. And yeah, let's make this a little bit more interactive. So I don't know, I've got the Monday crazies today. So here we go. It's going to be a hell of a week. Right, everybody, have a great week. And I'll catch you next Monday, live at lunch.